Now we're live.
To introduce. Wiser.
All right, all you builders. It is Friday night, and that's Web C, and we are here in the build station. And I got my friend Pyro Draco from the Plastic Addicts Discord server hanging out with us tonight. How's it going, Pyro?
Going good. You actually caught me at a good time. I've been sick for the last 3 weeks, so I finally have my voice back. So
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. Get to have a good night. All right. Hey, it looks like we got somebody over in the chat room already. So if you're in the chat room, go ahead and chat. I got the box open, so I'll be able to see your comments. Me and Pyro are just going to hang out tonight, and we're going to introduce you to him. So the first thing you should do, Pyro, is let my viewers know who you are and where they can find you all around social media.
So like you said, my name I go by Pyro Draco online. I've actually been going by that name for close to about 20 years now. It's actually my literally my tag on everything. It's my tag on Instagram. It's my tag on TikTok. It's my tag on any gaming platform out there: Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. I don't play on the Nintendo one so much anymore, um, but yeah, I've had that gamer tag for a long time, so it's it's just PYRODRACCO. You may even see the results of Pyro Draco Studios, which is what the sub name for my TikTok is, and my Instagram as well. Because as well as being a model kit builder, I also, um, when I have a functional computer, I am also a game developer as well as a hobby. So
That is a great start to introducing yourself. That was a very long and professional. That was great. Love it. Um, the next thing I was gonna just lead right into is what drives you into being a model builder and stuff like that. What was your drive into the whole hobby and also the industry, since you're just that's what it sounds like you're geared for.
so um, I've been building kits since I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. I started off with car kits. Just and you know what I'm talking about. The
Uh-huh.
the, the really old '90s, cheap. I mean, cheap plastic car kits. Um, I didn't really get into actually building Gunpla or anything like that until probably about 11 or 12 years ago. But I'd always kind of messed with kits a little bit. Grew up really, really poor, so wasn't able to just always go out and get kits. My focus was always more video games. So it wasn't until about, I guess, about 11 or 12 years ago that I actually fully got into actually building actual kits. Not to say that what I built when I was a kid wasn't a kit, but it's just, those 90 kits, they hold a place in your heart, but they're not what they are nowadays,
Definitely.
so, but I've always, since about 11 or 12 years ago when I started getting into it, crazy enough, my first kit I actually fully built start to finish was actually the is it the I know there's the Wing Zero custom Vercall, the one that's actually from Endless Waltz, but then isn't the other one just the Wing Zero, or is it the Wing Gundam? That's the Vercall.
So
It's
so
got the
okay,
flat
so
wing.
in both the TV series and the show, there's a Wing Gundam and a Wing Zero.
Yeah.
So the difference is the operation system in Wing Zero. Wing Zero
Yeah.
has an operation system that is highly advanced. Wing Gundam, its operation system is advanced, but it's nowhere near what the Zero system is. And the Zero
Mhm.
system is like it's like the Volea Minana from IBO, or it's like activating psychoparticles in Universal Century. The Zero system is the apex of Gundam in that Gundam universe. That's all I know about it. I don't know who made it or like all the specifics beyond that.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, so you're talking, you built the TV Verka and not the Endless Waltz Verka, right?
Yeah. It was the one. It's yeah. It's the one that's got the flat wings. It's got the
Yes.
flat yellow. Yeah. Yeah. So I built that. That was my first gun full of kit that I ever built. Um,
Pretty sweet first build.
I man, it took me like 3 to 4 months to build it. Like to be honest, like it took me about 3 or 4 months to build it. Um, I started picking up a couple more kits throughout the years, and I would occasionally build them. But it's not been until probably the last 2 years until I really started ramping up and getting serious about the hobby. And it's not even been until probably the last 3 months till it really started kicking up. I think you were there the other night when I was talking with Fernando, um, and I was
Yep.
talking about the fact that in the last 3 months, my skill level as far as being a model kit builder has significantly increased in the last 3 months. So I, up until about 2 or 3 months ago, was pretty much just a basic builder. I would just build the kit. That was it. I didn't put decals on there. I still don't. I don't like decals or like the stickers and stuff like that. I don't like it.
I
But
know exactly what you mean. That's, I got a drawer full of stickers.
yeah, it drives me nuts. And I haven't tried out the water slides yet, but that's just because I I just see it as a sticker and I'm just like, nope, I don't care.
I,
But
okay, so with the water slides, it is and it is not a sticker. So
yeah,
that's kind of how I feel about it. Is like them, they're more challenging than the regular types of stickers, and they don't replace the stickers that come with the kit. Does that make any sense too? Like,
gotcha.
so some of the color correcting stickers that come with like a high grade, the water decals aren't gonna be the same as those. The when you get a water decal, sometimes the color correctors on the water decals are way different, or they just don't even have them at all. Like so that was something that I always found interesting about when you bought water slide decals for the high grade kits. Now, when you buy one for like the master grades or real grades, the water slides are exactly just duplicates of the sticker sheets, basically. That
Gotcha.
Bandai makes, they just make a water slide that's a duplicate of that sheet. So then you can go, oh, stickers for real grade, or you can do water slides. And what the difference is eventually the stickers, the regular stickers, they're gonna pop off, they're gonna fall off,
Yeah.
from messing
Yeah.
with bits and stuff.
Yep.
But the water slides, you can lock them in with a coat of clear, like just a quick coat of clear can lock those water slides in, and then they're in. They're not going to go anywhere. And that's the difference between those two. But I know what you're talking about with those color correcting stickers. I prefer to paint things myself. Color correcting or not, I'm just a big I paint things myself guy. So I totally get that. Um, what's a holy grail kit for you? What's a kit you have not built that is just like I really want to build it. I really really want to build it.
Man, I just was looking at it too. I was just looking at it. There's those moto nuclear kits. Um, I'm sure I'm sure you're familiar with moto nuclear, right?
I think I was just looking at them. They just came into my local shop. I was just actually just researching something like them.
Oh, dang! So you actually got something that came in a local shop. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Um,
my local shop is now getting Kotobukiya, Moto Nuclear, and Next Mission. So that's all at my
Wow.
local shop right now. It's pretty cool, actually. I won't be able to go in and actually get any of that yet. I've got to wait until after Christmas before I can get more kits, but that's okay. I've got plenty of work to do. The
Oh yeah.
on the backside of that though, when I do get to go in and get some kits, I'm gonna be super excited to go in and get some kits because yeah, they're all looking good. The hobby industry is picking up and more companies are being born and they're picking up and realizing that hey, we don't have to make Gundams. We can make other brands of these robots and models and stuff. So I'm super excited to see what further comes out. Also, Lego just created a Transformers brand that is very impressive. If anybody's interested in that, I'm gonna try and get my hands on the Bumblebees. Any of the Bumblebees that are out for that series, I'll be trying to get my hands on to build those. And when I do get them, I'll build them live. Anyways, back to questions. So Grail Kit, what is the I wouldn't say let's not go like rarest or most expensive, but what is the one thing you've built as a model that you've really divested so much time into that you're super excited and like are always happy to share with your viewers and people that you talk to online? Hey dude, I'm live over here, man. Go to your room.
Uh,
Damn
um,
teenagers.
so want to finish the answer real quick to the Holy Grail question. There is a moto. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a moto nuclear kit that is blue. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. It's escaping me. But it and if anybody that's listening knows about the moto nuclear kits, they'll know which one I'm talking about. I was just looking at it on AliExpress actually, but it is it is a blue figurine model kit, and it has a blue dragon that goes with it. And the pictures that I've seen of it have a ring shaped LED behind it with like decorative fake flowers and stuff, like Japanese like flowers and stuff all around it, or maybe even they're Chinese. I don't know. But it's got flowers all around that light, and then it has the dragon going over the light. And I'll have to send you a picture, or I'll have to send you the link after the podcast. But it's one of those kits that I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of dragons, so I've been just eagerly wanting to get some type of dragon kit. There's also, I'm sure you've seen Infinite Darkness custom builds. He has the two tiger kits that he's built.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
those are super cool.
so that same company that makes those, there's a set of dragons that they make, and I don't remember what they're called. So I apologize about not knowing the name off the top of my head. But I just, man, it's just like since I've gotten so big into it, it's like I absolutely want to build a kit that's a dragon kit. Like I know how painful they're going to be because of all the little spikes and stuff like that. But because I've heard about some of the tiger kits and stuff like that, I've seen some kits online that people have built and they're like, be wary, your fingers are going to, you're going to end up hurting your fingers building these. But um, the the kit that I've invested the most amount of time in, though, is going to be a similar answer. Moto Nuclear has a kit called the Koran, and I actually have it up on my. It's kind of a little far back because it's from last year. But Moto Nuclear was the first third party kit series that I had ever messed with. As far as like the big name third party kits, because obviously if you buy something that's bootleg, that's technically speaking a third party. But because I've had some bootleg kits, I'm I think I'm quickly becoming the Timu king as far as model kits because all the kits that I've been building lately have been from Timu for the most part.
Yeah,
But
you've been building quite a few of those Timu kits.
I'm looking at about five of them sitting right there on my shelf. Some of
Nice.
them are not built, some of them are built. Um, one or two of them's been a gift, but anyways, um, but yeah, the Koran, like I bought that actually off of Infinite about this time last year, and the craziest thing about that is he he was like, "Are you sure you want to dive into this?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm good." He's like, "Well, this is like the equivalent of like a master grade or higher," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm just like, okay, what's the big deal? And he's like, you'll see when you build this kit. You'll see when you build this kit. And he's like, I guarantee it's going to take you 2 to 3 months to build this kit. He said, just to build it. He said, that's not even if you do anything to it. He said, just to build it's going to take 2 to 3 months. Um, it took me 1 week and 40 hours to build it. And that's with me working a full time job and having a kid to take care of too.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I may go back later on and take it apart. There was one piece on like one of the knee joints because it has a metal frame. That's the cool thing about the Moto nuclear kits is they have metal frames and they have plastic pieces that come off of them. And there was a spot where in the knee, I think it's on the right or the left. I can't. I think it's on the right. But there's a piece that slots into it, and it keeps that piece in check when you're opening and closing the knee. And that plastic piece was broke.
Oh
I
no.
didn't. I didn't know how to fix it back then, so I just put the thing together, and it works. It's just you can kind of like I can tell that the knee's kind of messed up. Now with the knowledge that I've gained recently, I've been thinking about taking it apart and fixing the knee joint. Uh, plastic weld it together or something along those lines. But but yeah, that's a kit where it's just like I have it up on the very tip top of my bookshelf. I have a corner bookshelf that's 3.5 by 3.5 foot, and it's right up on the top. And it's got these beautiful rainbow prismatic like wings. It's got all these tails on the back that you can adjust the size of them and everything like that. They're like multiple pieces. Um, that was the most time consuming part is cutting out the 60 something pieces for that and then putting everything, snapping everything together. But it was a extremely fun kit, man, because I'd never done anything like that before as far as that scaling, I guess. But so if you get a chance to check out a Moto Nuclear kit, I definitely recommend it. It's a fun time.
All right. Nice. I will. I've been looking at different kits, but I think the next kit that I gotta get my hands on is one of those Next Mission brand kits. Those things looked so fresh and crispy, and I'm not sure what they're from. I can't remember. They are not Gundam related at all, but it's a mech, and it's really nice and just crispy looking. So I like that. And yeah, Motor Nuclear. I'll look them up next after that too. So here is some seam line removal that I did. On this side, you can see there's no seam anymore, and on this side, you can see I still got to sand it. So that's like kind of like a before and after. That's what I'll be up to.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're using plastic cement, correct?
Yeah, I use this awful stuff right here. This stuff. This stuff's super awful. But it's like water. It looks like it's really thin. And what it does is you just put it where you want to melt your plastic. And when you push them together, you got to use like a pressure clamp or something. And
Yeah,
when you do, you just get it on there because it's gonna put the pressure on. But when you put that pressure on, it's gonna take that liquid that you put on there and it's gonna cause it to heat up the two pieces of plastic, and then they bond together. And then when they do bond together, they spit out that goo right there, like in the middle here. Let's see if I get the camera to focus. So that goo right there, that's in the
yeah.
middle. That's what I gotta sand away, and Same on this side. Sometimes the goo goes in and not out. So when I sand this side, I might have a little more work to do. But this side turned out really nice. Like I got this side to sand. Now this is a seam too, or that's a seam right there as well. But I plan on keeping that seam. That seems like it looks like it's supposed to be there. It's really wide too. It would take a lot of work to fill it and cover it. I could, but I don't want to. It looks nice. So that one will stay. And then the rest of this seam up here will get covered by a piece, so I don't have to do that. I just have to
Yeah,
sand right here and right here because those are going to be the two spots that get seen once it's painted. And this is for my War Machine build.
awesome.
All right. Oh, what is it? Do you have any aspirations to become a competition builder? Is that something?
Absolutely not, man.
No,
Absolutely not. I
no. I can't talk you into it. You can't step into the ring.
no, no.
Uh-huh. All
First
right.
and foremost, I am not competitive at all. Man, it's a whole mental game for me that it's just it's the fact that like I'm not competitive at all in the first place. Like I don't like playing games online where it's you versus another team. I don't do very well at them. I guess it's a confidence thing as well. It's just it's a whole bag of things. And it's like no, I don't and I might change. I might change honestly because I'm at this stage to where I really feel like I was talking about earlier. I think I've really, I guess, blossomed as a model kit builder in the last 2 or 3 months. Um, I mean, I went from somebody that just straight build kits to almost every kit that I'm touching. I'm for the most part doing something to them. It doesn't matter if it's small. It doesn't have to be big. It can be just as basic as doing custom panel lining on it, doing panel lining on it, just general panel lining, doing a custom color, adding a little bit of glow in the dark to it, doing painting a little bit, or excuse me, it could be my bootleg Timu camphor that I'm working on. This, my camphor that I started a few weeks ago. I've been hand painting the whole thing, and it is the first kit that I am fully painting top to bottom. As far as everything that is going to be seen. Now, the only thing I'm doing differently is I'm actually going to be pretty soon sanding off the gold that's on it because the gold's not doing what I want it to do. It's not looking good. It's looking very rough compared to my custom purple that I made. That was a first too. I'd never made a custom paint before, but um, I've recently got some of the steady. I don't know if you've heard about those, but the steady
Yeah,
electroplated markers.
yeah.
So,
How's those steady products treating you? Good.
man, I really like it. So far from what I've seen, I really like it. I'm going to try it out on my camphor. So all the stuff that I'm going to do gold, I'm going to do use that steady pin. I really like it. It self levels. This is not a paid for promotion. It's going to be soon for me, but not right now. I actually just got invited to actually start promoting stuff on TikTok actually, so I'm excited about that. They're actually sending me a extra set of their markers, so
Yeah.
um,
Hey,
I'll be doing a
just
review of those pretty soon.
a super quick interjection there about that promoting stuff. Make sure you read the rules and then look up the recent Congress passing bill that they passed about reviews. They just recently passed a law about how you can like what you're allowed to do video reviews on and stuff. And if you get caught doing video reviews on a product you didn't purchase yourself, you can get fined for it. So I would look into that law before you.
Really?
Yeah, I would look into that law. I would definitely look into that law.
Well, the nice thing is, at least on the markers, I'm covered because I bought them first and then I requested a sample.
Okay.
So, like, because with the stuff through TikTok, you you can request samples for stuff, and they're the only people that have sent me a sample so far, or even acknowledged me. So they sent me a sample, and I'm just like, I've already bought y'all stuff, but I'm going to need more of them. You
Right.
know, I was like, if I can get a free sample of them, sure, why not? Um,
Yeah, and that's not just steady. I'm just talking about just like any product moving forward, like that rule. I was just like, whoa. I was like, good thing
that's
I don't promote
insane.
to nobody like that, like, or good thing I'm not promoting like a product like that in that sense. I was like, okay, because I have a sponsor that is closing their shop doors soon, but other than that, I don't really, I don't promote much
That's
besides
crazy
my own.
that they could even do that, man. Because it's like that's the whole point of promote. Paying somebody to promote your stuff is like you got to go show off. I mean, if somebody's and I'm not trying to. I'm obviously trying not to get into political stuff. It's
Oh
just
yeah, that's
general
what I'm
stuff of like
saying.
that's insane because it's like how else are we supposed to like what are we supposed to do? Buy everything that we're showing off for these people? Like
That's kind of what they're trying to say is that you have to purchase the product. I mean, you can buy the product for heavily discounted. Maybe I say just send us a penny.
I guess
So
that's
we
what these companies are going to have to start doing. I mean, that's
so that
just
you can have an itemized receipt saying you purchased the product and paid shipping and handling. We'll give you a 99.9% discount or some shit. So you're just paying pennies for your promotional product.
that's insane.
You know what I mean? But like that's the workaround. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know, like there's gonna be a workaround like that, which would be fine. I mean, like, hey, I'd pay 10 cents for a $20 tool, So I'm not.
Yeah,
What are you
no
yelling
kidding.
at? No, that's not. That don't sound like her. She don't pull up driving all crazy and no. You go lay down, puppers. I got a dog too. I'm sorry. She's very astute.
My
She,
dog, when he's inside, he's pretty quiet unless something unless he hears something. But yeah,
yeah.
I might one day get into the competition build. It may be if I do, it'll be I would say probably if I was to give a rough estimation, it'd probably be about maybe within a year, within a year, maybe 2 years.
All right.
Um,
Well, hey, also just don't let not having a certain skill hold you back from joining a competition. Okay, even if it's something as simple as like airbrushing, don't let not having that skill completely under your wheelhouse. Don't let that hold you back. Still enter, because if you enter now, there's only up from there. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
only have one direction to go from entering. So I don't win every competition I enter. I lose quite a few competitions, really. Like my first 5 competitions, I lost, and I kept building. I kept going. I kept asking why was I losing. I found out a couple of reasons why you lose in competitions. So you just kind of got to play that game. The first reason why you can lose in a competition is bias. If you're building something too custom off and the judges are very classical in build style judging, they're probably not going to like your stuff. Or if you're, some bias can be for like what kind of parts you add to your kit or whatever, or how you crafted those parts, whether it's 3D printing or you bought a third party resin kit to add, or, you can get judged poorly for those things in competitions. So there's a lot too, like pay attention to all the rules, and that's the biggest thing is like it's not about being competitive or like I gotta win. It's more like just it's setting yourself a standard and seeing if you can follow a set of guidelines put on by somebody else to accomplish a build. That's the
yeah,
thing that I put forward as like the challenge, and that's not a challenge against anybody but yourself. So you're not competing against anybody but yourself usually. That's how I look at it. At the end, yeah, there's the whole judging and there's a first place, second place, third place, but
There's the whole
really,
stress of it.
really,
That's
did you accomplish the end goal of your build and stuff in time? And did you enter? Did you enter in time? You know, that's the win for me in every one of my builds. If they're competition builds, is did I make that deadline? Yeah, cool. You know, so that's one way to look at it from my perspective of being a competition builder because like the infinite darkness will tell you, man, don't foot around on it. Just do it. Just drop your gear on the table and start working and get that competition done. You know, like right now I'm in relax mode. I've been working on this kit for 2 months because I've got nothing better to do right now. I'm waiting for the Verka challenge for winter. There's going to be a winter Verka challenge that I'm going to enter and I'm gonna make my Verka a monster. It's gonna be a nasty little monster. So, because I've got like boxes and boxes of spare parts from other Verkas and other kits and stuff. It's just gonna be nasty, very very nasty. So we'll see. That's I'm throwing the gauntlet down this year. Yeah, no, that's gonna be my big time for the year, I guess. But yeah, for now I'm just doing a relax, chill build. I have like this Avengers themed diorama I'm gonna be doing eventually, and I'm getting all the kits built for it. One of the kits is Tony Stark, wherever he went. He's around here somewhere, I promise. Where'd you go, Tony? Just like Iron Man, always disappearing with the snap of a finger. Here's my favorite build, Iron Man.
yeah, you're doing all nothing but wing zero or not wing zero wing Gundam. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be all from that series. So, I can give you a better list now that we're talking live. So obviously Wing Gundam is Tony Stark, or this is Wing Zero actually. TV Wing Zero. Um, this is the one with the bubble wings that fold out in the
yeah.
TV show. Okay, so I took the wings off of him, but that's okay because he's Tony Stark, right? So then this is going to be his sidekick. We're going to turn this into War Machine. So what I did is I took this shield and this, and I mounted it up here onto his shoulders, and then I gave him some really cool gauntlet type. Uh, where are they? They're in one of these buckets. I can just show you. I gave him some gauntlet type back end bracers on his arms, so those are pretty sweet. They add to that whole aesthetic. And then my daughter gave me a Lego helmet from her Marvel collection, and it is actually a War Machine head. So I modified a Gundam head and put it inside.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if Gundam head turns into War Machine head. So I thought I thought that was just like, oh, that's genius. Let's do that. So that's kind of that. I don't have to paint up a War Machine head. I was like, yeah, that's super super quick do for that. So yeah, I then besides this one that I'm working on, I got a master grade Death Scythe Hell that's going to become Doctor Strange. I have a Serpent custom that's going to become the Hulk. I'm got a Sandrock high grade that's going to become Bucky Barnes. Uh,
Nice.
Tall Geese is going to become Captain America. Black Widow is going to be Shenlong or Nataku Gundam. But not custom, just regular Shenlong, probably master grade or high grade, whichever one I get to build for that one. No, there's one more. I think there's one more.
Hawkeye.
Yes, Gundam Epion for Hawkeye. I'm gonna turn his wings and the heat whip into a bow. And then the Gundam will strap the wings and the heat whip to his arms and it'll look like he's launching a bow.
You know, I saw. I saw. I don't know if you've seen it, but there is a model kit of. I know everybody has a different way they say it. Barbatos.
Yeah,
from Iron Blood Orphans.
yeah.
There is a different version of that that has four legs that is like a centaur,
Oh, I
and
got
he
you.
has. Have you seen that? Have you have you seen one of those before?
This guy right here,
Yes. How
Barbatorix.
Barbatorus? Yes. How was that? How was that kit? Because I've been thinking about buying that kit.
All right, you want to know the one problem?
What's the one problem?
It's like right here. It's a little. It feels awkward. It feels really awkward. But they literally took a second chest frame, and it is how they intersected it. It is really weird. It's a fun build. It's like you're building two sets of legs for the same kit, but the legs are different. So enjoy it. If you do get it, if you do get your hands on it, I say enjoy it. I did just a straight build for it because I had no desire to customize it or paint it different. I just really wanted to be like, yes, I have this and I just straight built it because there's some kits that I just want to do that with. Like I don't feel the need to fully customize or even add anything custom. Sometimes. And this thing was and so it's one of them. The tailpiece is pretty cool. It's very firm. But it once the socket wears down a little bit, it doesn't stay all the time. So, but see, it like kind of
Yeah.
that's the only flop right there. But however, it does stand on its own and everything just fine. It's kind of weird, but it stands. I'm not touching it. I'm bumping into it. And it ain't falling over. It's solid that way. As you can see, the bow is like in the way, but everything moves and is pretty good. The one thing I did notice was it just it's on a shelf next to any other kit. It doesn't feel like it should be. It should be like I think somebody should put lots of love into a kit like this and then like put it on its own little shelf and just showcase it like that. In my display section, it actually is on its own shelf, but it didn't get a lot of love like I think it should. So, so other than that, no complaints, none at all. It's very unique. It's got some just all sorts of crazy things. It's got like a bow holder right here, where you can like set the bow in and take the effect off if you want or something. I think it just sits
Gotcha.
like this or some weird thing. And what else? So I guess this could come off if you wanted it to. And then this isn't broken. This came this way. So I don't know if that was a factory defect or if it's supposed to be this way, but this is how mine came without one side. So if you're wondering
That's
about that
cool.
as well.
I will.
These are cool spikies. They can sit either down or up. I don't know. The it literally said you can do this or you can do that in the manual, I believe. So that was new. I have a lot of kits. This one definitely is the one I don't show a lot of love to. It gets a lot of dust on it and stuff, and he just sits on his own little shelf and never bothers any of the other Gundams.
Well, I brought that up. First of all, Hawkeye is my favorite comic book character of all time. So there's that. Um, but I brought that up not knowing you had one. Um, but are you opposed to using the bow and arrow from that and like painting it? Because I mean, at least you would actually have an actual bow. I mean, you're because theoretically speaking, follow me. You're using the War Machine head from a Lego thing. So I personally wouldn't see it being an issue if you're using a bow and arrow from another kit. Or at
Well,
least
I would say I'm not against trying that bow and arrow, but where I'm at with it is I want to. That's kind of a small, dinky bow. You know what I mean? I think Hawkeye should have like
gotcha.
his Gundam should have a big, huge, beefy, power hitting bow. You know what I mean? Like something that
Yeah,
like if he fires that, you're gonna be scared to get hit with it. You know what I'm saying?
I
Because
got
it's
you.
a
I got you.
Gundam.
I was just
That's
throwing
all.
something out there.
Yeah, yeah. No. If I had access to, well, if I did the RG Epion. I would say yes. I would just grab that bow and paint it
That's
over.
what I was thinking. Is
Yeah,
if you
but
were
I have
using
the
like the real
master grade.
grade,
Yeah.
you know.
I have the master grade for that build set aside because it's in my backlog
Gotcha.
already. I already have the master grade. I have the death scythe on. I have all the kits on hand that I'm talking about building for this Marvel thing already. So like it's
Awesome.
not even. It's just a time thing. It's just work on it and get it done at your own leisure type of thing. It's more so like this one took me like 3 months to do. So I really took my time on this one. But this one I had to do chrome and do an enamel over that chrome, and then I had some issues with putting top coat over the enamels, and it was hard. This one was hard. So I took my time with it though, and it sits nice. It's nice. It's a good kit. Um,
That's a
especially for
cool
all the
idea.
attention that it got. So I'm trying not to slack off on this one. I've been doing like adding a whole bunch of parts, and I got to sand them down and stuff, and making it match. So they're like that. These two custom pieces. Now I got to sand them down and stuff so that they're better matching. Or what else did I customize on this? Oh yeah, this thing's got a bunch of custom work on it. I added that big plate in the front, and then on the side I added this like I don't know what it is, but it's a part, and it looks like it should be there, so I put it there. That's kind of how the customizing thing works for me. My brain doesn't like. I'm not a master plan kind of guy. I'm like, oh, that could fit. Let's make it fit. So
Yeah,
we're gonna get to some weird questions. What is your favorite non-mecha animation?
non-mecha animation. Just so like, what's my favorite non-Gundam anime? Basically.
Well, no, like I mean, like say, don't name Macross, don't name Gundam, don't like don't no mechas, no robots. What's an anime that's you're into?
And that makes it kind of hard right there, bro. Because my favorite anime is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood,
Well,
and
that's not too bad.
the show that runs right beside it, like any, literally, you can ask Pyrocats, aka pretty much my brother. I refer to him as my brother all the time because we're super close to each other physically. We're like 10 minutes down the road from each other, and then we're like the best of friends. And but I call him my brother all the time. But you can ask him at any given time. You can ask me what my favorite anime is. One day it's going to be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The other day it's going to be Ghost in the Shell. I love some Ghost in the Shell. So that's why I was like, come on, man, I gotta have my cyborgs, my, my
Yeah,
sentient robots.
that's why I was because I know this is we talk mainly Gunpla, so I gotta have like some questions that divert
Oh
a little
no,
bit
no, that's
so we
fine.
can get interesting. For me, it's Dragon Ball and Ronin Warriors. So those are my two favorite animes. I'm not talking about Dragon Ball Z. I mean Dragon Ball, like old
I know
school.
what you meant.
As
I know
a
what you
kid,
meant.
So those are my two favorite non-mecha animes. And I mean, hey, Ronin Warriors is kind of cutting it a little close to mecha because man, those suits that they wear in that show, they look kind of armored up like a robot sometimes. So. Do you guys
So,
do you
oh,
know what
sorry.
Ronin Warriors are? Do you remember them?
What was it?
Ronin Warriors?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I've seen it.
It was on an afternoon cartoon back in the 90s period. So you'd have been, I mean, me and you were about the same age. So you'd have been like 4 to 7, somewhere around that age group.
Okay, sounds familiar. I don't.
They, they look like Power Rangers, but they were cartoon samurais. Like, there was a
Yeah.
red one, a blue
Oh
one,
my
a
god,
green
dude, I
one,
haven't
an
seen that
orange
in
one.
ages.
Yeah. So, um, that's my favorite anime that's non-mecha, but it's kind of close because they look kind of like robots and stuff, and that might have been what like attracted me so much to Gundams. Once I saw Gundams, was hey, those look like Ronin Warriors, like let's watch that. So,
So
um,
I'm gonna flip the script real quick, if that's all right. So what what was the What was the big thing that did turn you onto Gundam? Was it a person? Was it just seeing it on Toonami? Or I guess what was it? Yeah, Toonami. Did you see that on there, or what got you on the Gundams?
All right. Well, actually, so for Gundams, for me, what it actually was when I was a kid with insomnia on the weekends on the sci-fi channel or science fiction channel from back in the day. They would have something called the Midnight Train. And on the Midnight Train, they had like three different types of animes usually, and they would cycle them out. Every other month it would be a couple different shows. And one time I watched it and I saw it wasn't Gundam, but it was very close to Gundam. And when I was a little kid and I saw it and I remembered it, and then I got turned into a teenager, and I started looking up robot animes because I wanted to watch it again because I was like, oh, let's see if we can find any of it on any websites to grab. And I looked, I couldn't find anything, but Gundam kept popping up and popping up, and I was like, "What is this?" So I looked at it, and at that moment in time, we were like, I think I was 10 to 12 years old, and Gundam Wing had just hit the big market over on Cartoon Network, and that was like after I had already saw Gundam or something like it on Midnight Train. I was like, wow, okay, well, let's switch to Gundam. And that's kind of what got me into Gundam. And then that same time period, my grandma came home from Target because she was like a manager at the Target that she worked at. And she just took order inventory of these new toys. They were action figures, but they were Gundams from Gundam Wing. So they weren't models like these. They were like
I know what you're
rubber
talking about.
yeah, and she started buying me the whole collection, and those were my first Gundams, and so that's kind of how I got into Gundam. And then a couple years passed, and I was hanging out with some buddies, and we were, being teenagers, walking around stores, and we stopped at a Target, and at an end cap, there were actually models of Gundams, and I was like, "Oh snap!" But they weren't good models; they were those
Yeah,
really crappy models that
you're
you,
talking about the
like the no
19.
grades.
You're talking about the 19. Or you're not talking. I thought you were talking about the 1996 high grades that they had
Oh
out.
no, I'm talking about the 1994 no grades, like the
Oh,
old
gee.
no grades. So it was G Gundam or G Gundam Fighter is what it said on the box.
Yeah, because that
And
was actually before Wing was.
yeah,
I mean, some people know that. A decent amount of people know that, but a lot of people don't know that at the same time. That because we got Wing Zero here in the states, or Gundam Wing, we got that first, and then we got G G Fighter. We
yeah,
got that
G Fighter
later
aired
on.
first in Japan. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
well, that was mainly because when G Fighter originally aired, it would have been hard for that group of kids to take onto it or something. They tried it. They did testing or whatever to see if the kids
yeah.
in America were going to pick up on it. And the parents were like, this is too much Karate Kid fighting. We didn't like it. So that's why they were like, okay, well, you can't hate rebellious teens, right? Here you go.
Here's here's
Rebel
here's
teen
basically
fighters.
a space opera series. Here's Wing, Wing Gundam Wing. Here's Gundam Wing.
Yep. And yeah, so I think that's how that really panned out and why they did Gundam Wing in America first. And then Gundam itself didn't really take in America like the original Gundam. It
Yeah,
didn't take. Gundam Wing was really saved Gundam here in America. And for all the people who out there like really hate on Gundam Wing and stuff because the models don't get as much love as like the Seed models do from the company, like Bandai really loves Seed for some reason. They just love Seed, but they don't give the other Wing Gundam kits. Not talking about the one named Wing Gundam, but I'm like
Yeah.
Sandrock and Tall Geese and stuff. They don't give those kids a lot of love. They kind of just like push them off to the side and treat them like stepchildren. You know what I mean? Like,
Which is crazy because I have never sat down and watched all the way through Seed. I just I was uninterested in it.
I am
So
currently trying to watch Seed right now. I have watched the first 10 episodes 5 times. I finally got past that and absorbed the information enough to where I could be like, okay, now I can watch the rest of it and, just watch it and be able to pick up wherever. No, I was wrong. I'm completely lost again. I'm on episode 40 something and I'm lost. So lost. So I got to go back to like episode 25. And I think at episode 25, I'll be able to catch back up and start watching. Because I'm not going back to episode 1 again. That's not happening. Those first 10 episodes, man, that's really the hard hurdle. Like, once you get past that 10 episodes, it's like smooth sailing. Like, episode 14 was pretty good. Episode 18 was pretty good. Like, I was like, okay, so it seems like it's a climb up every 4 episodes. You get a couple dumb episodes, and then the good episode, and the filler, and then two dumb, and then, so I was like, all right, I can track with this now. Other Gundams don't track like that. Like IBO, very minimum filler episodes in IBO. Like there's not very many filler episodes. What's the cookie and biscuit episode? That's the most filler I felt like I got in IBO. So I was pretty happy with IBO. I was like, all right, good, strong, linear story. Like, let's do it. Abandoned orphans want to fight for their freedom and fight for their capitalism. Nice, let's go. Freedom and capitalism at the same time. Wow, I'm surprised. Nobody ever thought of that before. Yeah, free enterprise. Let's go. IBO was pretty cool like that, right? And then Double O, I watched most of the first season or series of Double O. I don't know how Double O really pans out, but I feel like there were 2 series, but they called them seasons. I'm not sure. But the first Double O, I watched most of it, and it starts off great. It was like, yeah, let's end war. Let's be the ones to end war. And then all the people they were like trying to stop from having war just said like, yeah, screw you. And they all turned against the Gundam pilots and they were like, yeah, we're just gonna take you out. And the Gundam pilots were like, well, that was kind of the plan. But now we have to fight you. And I was just like, but no. And then it turned around. It became something completely different, like almost 2/3 of the way through the first series. And it ended up being about like different cliques of Gundams fighting each other for space supremacy. And I'm like, what is going on here? I was like, this is different. So that's my take on the different Gundam series. Universal Century is just like introduction. Like, here, this is why we would need something like this or why we would invent this. And then after Universal Century, it's like, yeah, let's see how twisted we can really get it. Um, and then so far in Seed, like, I guess where I got lost is when they were like finding out that they were in somebody's office and they opened up a door and found a bunch of clones. I was like, oh. I was like, that's new. I was like,
what's going on?
I was like, please no. Oh no. I was like, are those Mako reactors? Is this Final Fantasy VII? What are we doing? I can can't help myself there.
Is this the end of Brotherhood? Where there's all? Have you seen Brotherhood?
I've seen most of Alchemist. I don't remember everything, like
Yeah,
story wise.
there's the stuff at the end where the military, like some part of the military is like making the clones. They're making the almost like homunculi or whatever, but they're taking corpses and they're filling them with spirits and stuff like that. Like it's a really weird. It's a really weird part of that show, and I know that's not the weird part. That's not the part people talk about. People fixate on the whole thing of the chimera situation of the father mixing the whole thing of his daughter and his dog together. I know people like the second you bring up Brotherhood, everybody's like, oh, yeah, that. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. You thought that was pretty screwed up, but move past it. Watch the rest of the show because it's a freaking fantastic show. If it wasn't such a fantastic show, I would not have gotten a tattoo. Like that show is the first tattoo and I've still gotten. That's the only tattoo I've gotten. I have the cross, and I'm saying this because people, I say I got the Full Metal Alchemist logo on my arm, and they assume I'm talking about the alchemy symbol thing. The thing that you see. I mean, it's part of what you see for the show. Um, but I'm like, no, I got the cross with the snake wrapped around it. They're like, that's not the logo. I'm like, yeah, it's one of the logos for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's on the cover. I have the Blu-ray sets. Like, I'm like, and plus, Ed has one on his shoulder, on his left shoulder. I have it on my right shoulder. I thought that'd be really cool because I'm like, I'm right-handed. This and this, but I was just like, you know what? His is on his left shoulder. Ours is on his cape. I'm like, I'm going to put mine on my right shoulder. But I actually have a tattoo of that logo on my right shoulder, and it's actually custom because um, I actually have my gamer tag, Pyro Draco. I have that in Dragonic language from Skyrim under with a curved text underneath it. That I designed this tattoo myself, and somebody did it for me. And he actually free-handed blood dripping off of the cross in different points. And he's like, "That's a cool idea, but why?" He's like, "I've watched that whole show. Why are we adding blood dripping off of it?" I was like, because of the blood that Ed lost trying to bring back his mom and Al. And the shock on his face when I told him that, he's like, bro, that's genius. He's like, I've never seen anybody do that with this tattoo before. He's like, that's really cool. He's like, I never would have thought to do that. He's like, I was just curious. I didn't expect it to be something that great. And I was like, it's like, well, I I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something myself or design something myself, it's going to like, if it's something that's already out there, I'm going to make it my own. Like, I'm going to do something to it to where it's like, hey, that's a me thing. Like, sure, he free handed the blood dripping, but I came up with the concept and he loved it. Hey, I mean, he was like, man, you've been like one of the easiest clients I've ever had because he's like, I'm so used to people want me to draw elaborate stuff. And he's like, yours has got a little bit of detail to it, but he's like, you pretty much designed it all yourself. He's like, I barely did anything, you know? But,
Yeah,
but yeah, there's that whole rant to say it's one of my favorite shows of all time. And there's a reason for it, you
yeah.
know?
It is in my top few, but it's not like my top. I watched it during a time period in my life where I didn't put a lot of effort into paying attention or retaining things. There
Gotcha.
was a lot more going on in the background than watching the TV. But it was on the TV. I remember it, and I remember, as there were those moments where everybody stopped and looked at the TV for a second or something, that was what was on. But so, like, the information from that show is very scattered for me. The furthest I go up is like the one time they get to the temple and they find the first fake stone and
Yeah.
all the people underneath it that were killed to create that fake stone or whatever
Yeah.
in the attempt, and them to learn like that's the tragedy of it all, is it's so messed up. So yeah, that was my first thing, and then I do remember the ending of the show as well, but I don't know if the ending is same in Brotherhood as it is in the original, because I
No,
remember watching
the
the original more than
the
Brotherhood.
original, it was loosely following. it was it was following it, but it was kind of loosely following the manga because the manga wasn't finished yet, and then they finished they finished the first Full Metal series, which I believe I have the first one as well. But I have the blue. I think I have that on possibly on DVD. But I do have the Blu-ray set of Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is supposed to be more closely following the actual manga because it started production after the manga finally finished.
Okay.
So, but there is some bits and pieces of the first series that actually do follow the manga. I haven't read the whole thing. That's okay. So going back to the Holy Grail thing real quick, because I'm ADHD, so squirrel. Um, the Holy Grail for me of things that it's like on my just holy crap, if I hit the lottery, the first thing I'm buying is the Full Metal Alchemist manga box set. That is like the first thing I'm doing because I've recently started getting into collecting mangas finally. I have the whole series of Dragon Ghost House Hunting that just ended this year. Um, I have started. I actually bought off somebody for like $50, like 8 or 9 volumes of Kaiju number 8. That's a great read. Dragon Ghost House Hunting. If you're looking for a, if you're looking something for something that's got a little bit of a slapstick comedy that's going to make you chuckle and laugh out loud at times, both the manga and the anime cannot steer you. It will not steer you wrong at all. Fantastic manga, fantastic anime. It follows along with the manga supremely well. Um, but that's one of those series, man. I can't wait to see. I really hope that it did well enough that we're getting the full run basically of the show. I'm hoping we get the full run because it's such a great manga. I haven't finished it yet because I go into phases where I want to read a lot and then I don't want to read at all, and I'm in that phase of not wanting to read at all. I alternate between my hobbies. So
Okay. My reading obsession is I am a very versed and knowledgeable brain on the Star Wars expanded universe. Now, let me be
gotcha.
clear about that. I am not talking about this Disney trash that has come out in the last 10 years here. I am talking about all the books that were written from 1985 until 2013. I have a vast knowledge of all those books and the timeline involving those books. As far as the Disneyverse, I know of it. I've watched it. It's okay. Like it doesn't blend well with the universe of Star Wars that I'm accustomed to and know, and I really am disappointed by that part of Disney's universe of Star Wars. However, they're
So
not doing a bad job. It's just it's not the same universe. They really are creating like a Star Wars multiverse now, and it's okay. I think we should look at it that
so
way.
so with that, I would have one question. I have one question for you. Have you? Well, I guess it's a multi question. Have you watched? And if you have watched, what did you think about the Bad Batch?
Okay, I only got to watch the first episode of the Bad Batch because a lot of the stuff with Star Wars, I have to watch it with my wife. It's like one of those things where we can't watch it without each other.
Gotcha.
So she's
Gotcha.
got a really busy work life, so like I try to watch just one thing at a time with her. So we only got to watch one episode of the Bad Batch, and we both really liked it, but we were like a little confused because we didn't watch any of the Clone Wars,
Clone
so we
Wars.
don't know. So we don't
Gotcha.
know how things tie together or anything like that. So, um,
I, as somebody that has seen all of the Clone Wars stuff and as the Clone War box set, um, I would almost kind of say you kind of would have to kind of see that first.
okay.
Um,
Does it makes sense to watch the Clone Wars first?
It does because there's a lot of characters that you see along the way in the Bad Batch, and that's where they're from. The group of clones that you're following in the Bad Batch, they you actually see you see them, like you have episodes where they interact with them in the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And dude, so I kind of feel you. I mean, I like Star Wars. I'm not like a big Star Wars person in the sense of like I'm not just like Star Wars this, Star Wars. I gotta have everything Star Wars. I have some stuff that are Star Wars, and it's stuff that I've gotten for Christmas or something. But and I have a couple Star Wars things, but I'm not like a massive Star Wars fan. Like I'd say I'm kind of a mediocre Star Wars fan. But let me tell you, I was losing my ever living mind when I saw the trailer, when I saw the whole snippet about the Bad Batch. I lost my crap, man. I was ecstatic because I love the Clone Wars animated series. I grew up watching the original one that was done by the same creator who brought us Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, and Samurai Jack. When he originally did the Clone Wars series, the original. I'm not talking about the 3D animated. I'm talking about the original 2D animated that actually showed up between that replaced a 5 minute commercial on the weekend during random segments in Cartoon Network's lineup. I started off with that. That was the original Clone Wars that I watched,
I remember
and
that. That was cool.
like I remember it because like it was so cool because it was just like, oh man, I got to be watching around this time for this, for this snippet, for this 5 minute episode. And then when they got done, they were like, here's the premiere of the Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated movie. Excuse me. And let me take a drink for just a moment. My throat's getting kind of dry.
Yeah, I gotta go check it. I better go put soda in the fridge for the wife. Hold on. I'll be right back. Bye.
Alrighty.
All right, I'm back.
Alrighty.
All right, you got any questions for me?
um, I had some earlier, but we kept talking about something else and it just escaped me.
Very nice.
Um, yes, actually, I do. So, what is your? Because, man, like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, full on honesty, I was pretty jazzed when you actually like. I don't know if people use that terminology anymore, but I use it occasionally. I use it occasionally, so this is a rare case. But I was pretty jazzed when I checked because I get off work at like 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. I got home, talking to wife and kiddo, getting stuff ready to make quesadillas for supper. And then I checked my Discord and I was like, dang, I got an invite to your podcast. I was pretty excited about it because I know whilst you and I have not had a lot of conversations. I do know you come into the live when I'm on live on, for plastic addicts and stuff like that. I try to jump into your lives occasionally, but I was pretty excited, man, because like I said, I do have a plethora of experience in podcasting, and and I've built a decent. I've not built a crazy amount of model kits, but I've built a decent amount, and I've been learning so much lately. You and I were you weren't in the actual live, but you were watching the live and texting and stuff. But I've got the whole cape and cloak thing, hopefully starting up pretty soon. Um, which I'm taking your advice. I'm thinking about offering to do ones that have, instead of being molded to where it's got the Mod Podge behind it. I am definitely thinking about doing some wire ones as well. But I do want to make sure that I also do ones where they actually don't have the wire, because I actually want to make it to where it can actually fully flap in the wind. So if somebody wants, like, example, if somebody builds a kit and it's a superhero or something like that that they want a cape for, they can put the cape on there, they can turn the fan on, and they can do poses to where it's flapping in the wind, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I just thought of another idea to help you do that, to help you like to make one. I What do you think about taking a fishing weight and clamping it at like the corners of the thing to where it makes it way down, but it can still sway in the wind and stuff, like a little half gram, quarter gram fishing weight, them little itty bitty ones. Just clamp them in at the bottoms, and then it'll dangle, and it'll still give it a lot of free movement. It'll be less restricting like the wires are, but it'll still give it weight to hold it against the fabric, to hold the fabric against the shape of the Gundam. Because that's what I think you're really trying to achieve. You want the fabric to drape nicely over the kit, but then you want it to still have movement too, right?
yeah,
I think,
yeah.
I think little itty bitty fishing weights. That's just an idea. If you don't like it, that's okay. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. I mean, the material that I'm currently using, or that I'm about to be using pretty soon, my sewing machine is supposed to come in next week. Um, it's a stretchy like material, so I don't know how that would work with that. I'd be worried about it stretching it out and making it look weird.
I
But
think I'm just talking about really lightweight. It's like I'm not talking like
yeah,
1 ounce weights. I'm talking like a gram, like really, really lightweight. So,
yeah,
it
that's not a
wouldn't
bad
even
idea.
try like I think it would barely even stretch the plastic. It would just hold that, experiment with it or whatever. This is the most you
Yeah,
can
no,
do.
no, no, no. That's a good idea, dude. Um,
Okay.
but yes, I mean, I have all that coming up that I'm going to be experimenting with. Um, but like I said, I've learned the panel lining stuff. I've taken up hand painting stuff. I've done a partial kit, and now I'm working on a full kit. Which, granted, part of it's going to be a paint pen, but I still consider that painting because it's paint. I don't care what anybody else says; it's still paint. It's still a paint marker, so it's still paint. Um, and
I
it's
use
just
it.
accent pieces. Um, but there's so many. So I'm sorry for all that build up to this, but so my question for you would be, because I really envy you as or I guess not envy, but I look up to you as far as a builder goes, because I've seen a lot of the stuff that you built, and I'm just like, man, it's freaking impressive. Your work it's just really impressive, and so I was super excited to be joining you on your podcast, because I was just kind of like, I've thought about asking to join, but I was just like, I'm just gonna wait and see if I get invited, you know, um, because like I said, I've done a lot of podcasting in the past, so it's not anything that I'm not familiar with. But the one question I would have for you is, what is your method, or is there a certain specific method that you do on your panel lining? because
Ooh.
I've tried a couple different ways, and I was curious about what your take is on panel lining.
All right. That's like a long-winded short answer. Do and do and don't do it. No. My long-winded answer for that is everybody's got to learn and figure out what to do and not to do with their kits because a lot of it has to do with your environment. And that's a thing that gets overlooked really quickly when you're building kits is what you're using in your environments for your kits as finishes and stuff can sometimes affect the quality of your builds. So with that, if you're using, say, the one I use is to me a panel liner. I have that right now. It's just what I use. I'm not saying it's the only thing I've ever used, but it's what I'm using. However, when I use that, I do a bunch of steps and everything to protect my kit so I'm safe using it. But I've seen people like just completely destroy their kits when they use that stuff, and I feel super bad about it because it's like we could have coached you to prevent it, and then you would have had a better experience. But everybody's got to like have that mistake, that learning mistake with a kit or something. Mine was with a high grade that I ended up just throwing it away. It was a high grade XE or something like that, and I was like, it's trash now. I was just like, I put some on, and it spread everywhere I wanted to, and then I went to pick it up, and the plastic just completely fell. It was weird. I was like, I'd never seen it before, and that from that moment on, when I did the research, and everybody was like, top coats, layers of top coat, those things protect your kits. Just follow through with that. So then afterwards, I also learned that there's sometimes where you can actually do an entire kit and completely get away with not doing a single panel line on a kit. And I have an example to show you. Everybody really likes this kit, but I didn't do a single panel line on this kit because the the black gave me an easy out, right? It does the color separation for me. But yeah, you can also go without doing panel lining. Some kits
Yeah,
they'll show up and they'll look really good for you without the panel lining. Now this kit, if I wanted it to look more realistic, the panel lining would go inside the barrel here and all along this, and it would give it more of an accented look of realistic. But this, I was going for cartoon commander unit. I wasn't going for realistic. I was just, what would a commander unit Leo look like in the cartoon? I think it would look something like this. A little more detail on the stickers that you put on it, and yeah. So that's the difference. Otherwise, when you do panel line kits, um, the process I go through with when I'm painting a kit is where I'm at right now with this. So I put everything in a bin in a box. I wash it. I paint it. I let the paint cure or off gas. Off gassing is something that happens if you use a lacquer or enamel products. Those two are gonna off gas. Now be careful when you're using lacquer or enamel and to stick with what you're using because if you use and mix these two together one way, it'll be fine. But if you put the wrong one over the other one, it creates a hot reaction and it melts your project, just turns it to dust. So be careful using lacquers and enamels together. Usually you're going to put a lacquer down first, and after you've done a bunch of lacquer coats, you can do like one or two coats of enamel on top, but that's it. That's going to off gas. Off gassing is like a curing process. You can still mess with the parts and stuff because they're dry, but there's still just a little bit of chemical coming out of the plastic still from the painting process. That's what I have to do a lot of work and wait for. Like so this kit took 2 weeks to off gas before I could put a top coat on it. And I found out that way, the hard way, because the first time I tried to top coat it, this like top coat, like you can see it, it kind of like bubbled back there. Do you see that?
yeah,
So I learned from that. I had to learn the hard way from my own mistakes. But then when you look at the rest of the kit, I fixed the whole issue. There's no there's no problems. So I had to learn from just one little thing. I found out what I was doing wrong. I was using a spray can and aerosol, and I didn't warm my can up. So you're supposed to, your aerosol cans, you should dunk them in warm water for like 20 minutes before you spray with them. It creates a much better, even more consistent coat. Then, once you're done with the first layer of top coat, whatever you use, I recommend doing a gloss, no matter what brand. Brands don't matter really at this point. But I recommend a gloss top coat first, and it's not a final coat. It's just on top of everything else that you've done so far. Then do your water slide decals, lock them in with another gloss coat. Then do your panel lining above the decals because it'll give the decals more three-dimension, make them look like they're actually part of the part more. Then you lock your water slides in after that, or your panel liner in after that. Then after you lock everything in, you can choose whether to do a matte coat and weathering. That's the final process. And it's everybody's like got their own way to do it, right? But this is kind of what I've learned as like the general idea of how to do it all is locking every step between a coat of top coat. And then your final coat, you can do satin. A lot of people choose matte because then they can easily do weathering and stuff with matte coats. But I'm a high gloss guy. I love to finish my kits in high gloss. I'm not a big weathering guy. I have practiced weathering. I know how to do it. I'm just not a fan. So I like watching other people do it, and I like watching and seeing other people's builds of it. I'm a big fan of other people doing it. Just me myself, I guess I'm not a fan of making my models always look beat up and worn. Did I answer your panel lining question?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um,
Um, so the way I've done it recently, because I've only done it like twice. I don't know how much. I don't know how long you normally do your podcast. So I apologize if it's been long-winded.
oh
Um,
no, we're good.
so my first, and I'm going to show it off on video. Let me turn my lights on real quick because I just turned them off for another kit. Oh, and it fell over as soon as I moved the table, of course. Get it set up so we can see.
There you go.
How do I flip the camera?
All right. That's gonna be in your settings option. You're gonna go into your settings. There's three little green dots. You'll
Yep.
scroll down. You open that up with the three little green dots, and it'll say settings. Go into your settings, video, and then you open up video. It'll swap you to four different options for your video.
There we go.
Yep.
Oh, this is so weird.
And you might have to turn the mirror off as well in that same setting area.
Okay, I was wondering what was going on with that.
Yep. So there is a mirror button. There you
Here we
go.
go. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the panel lining because it's kind of hard to see. Let me see
Yeah,
if
I
I
can
can
see what's
turn.
going on there. Here, let me
There we go.
make you the bigger picture. Yeah, I can see the panel
So
line.
all that I actually did with a extra fine paintbrush. I used one of my Nick Pro paintbrushes to do that. I actually used a I actually used an airbrush paint and actually just hand painted it on there. As
It
far
works.
as the panel lines, and I was really proud of that the stuff in the core of the torso out there. I really liked how that turned out. Obviously up here I've got some thicker spots. If you'll focus. But then this is the first kit that I actually used my custom purple on that I did. I really feel like it really shows off. If it'll stand up and not fall. Nope, it's wanting to fall. There we go. So it's kind of hard to see because my light source is like right behind my camera. But so
Oh,
I really enjoyed doing the panel lining on this one. It was kind of fun. It was at first all these pieces that are dark purple were like a light purple. They were pre-painted. This was, I think Yeah, this was my first Timu kit that I actually got.
Okay.
Um, the second thing that I painted, and it's really not panel lining. I know we're talking about panel lining, but it was the first time. It was the first kit that I actually did a paint job on, and it's kind of hard to see now. Dang it! But you can kind of see the glow. I didn't hold the light on it long enough. Let me get my ultraviolet. Just a second. I had an ultraviolet light somewhere. It's not a very strong ultraviolet light, but yeah, I was super impressed with this kit, man. How it turned out, like all the all the veins underneath Kaiji number eight's arms and everything.
Oh, that's cool. I'm sorry I wasn't looking away on purpose.
Oh,
Kaiju
you
number
good?
8. I just saw a kid dressed up as that for Halloween.
But yeah, I actually did
That's
custom
awesome.
glowing. Like I actually mixed some glow in the dark pigmented powder with glow in the dark paint to get that effect.
Okay.
And the nice thing is like traditionally glow in the dark paint that I've seen, um, it is transparent or opaque. I guess, or I can't remember what's the difference. What the difference between the two is, but anyways, it basically turns transparent to where you don't see it until you turn the light on. Glow, make it glow. You don't really see it. But the
Oh,
nice
okay.
thing about adding a glow in the dark pigmented powder is that it will actually change the color of the paint. So when the lights are actually on, you can still see that.
Ah, now I
You
see what
still
you're
see the
saying.
blue. And
Yeah.
I had messed with pigmented powder, glow in the dark pigmented powder a long time ago. So I knew that, and I was like, man, I still want you to be able to see. So if somebody looks at this, I still want them to be able to see. I love I love the part with the eyes, man. You can barely see it, but the eyes, man, it was just like I did one little droplet of paint, maybe two, and that was it.
That's
But yeah,
sweet.
I wanted you to still be able to see the blue under his veins or on his muscles. I still wanted you to be able to see all that detail, even when it was not glow in the dark. But I'm gonna turn my video off. There we
Huh?
go. But yeah, that's one of those kits that I'm super proud of, man. Like I've got ideals to do stuff later on to it. I don't know if you ever do that, if you ever go back to a kit once you've already modified it and then go back to it later on.
Well, so, what I do, okay, I'll show you what I do. Kid I modified. This is where it sits. It's there. It's ready for paint. I gotta finish sanding it. Like I think one box is sanded and one isn't. So that's where I'm at with this kit. This is I took a Shining Gundam and a high grade Death Scythe and mashed them together, and I called it Shining Death. Anyways, I don't know what I'm painting, what color I'm gonna paint it yet. I still just haven't decided. So that's kind of how I am with projects. I'll get to the part where I'm ready to paint, and I'll be like, I don't know what colors to do it yet. I'll wait. I'll put it up for a vote eventually. It's pretty cool. It's a good build. This is my other obsession in the world is these guys. Um, I've
Transform.
been, yeah, I've been obsessed with them, and recently I just decided to start custom detailing them. So if you send me a transformer, I will custom detail you one. There's
So
like
with that,
issue.
have you actually seen the third party transformer kits?
Yes, I'm really jealous that I can't get them right now.
Like I've been seeing those popping up on my TikTok lately, and I'm like, I don't have any transformers. I maybe have one or two transformers somewhere at somewhere, and I mean I know I had some of the ones when we were kids, like the binocular ones and stuff like the binocular. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but it was like either
Yep.
Burger King I think it was Burger King or something, but they had one that transformed into like binoculars or something like that. There was some other ones. I don't remember what they were, but I had a lot of those toys when I was a kid. But
Yeah. So I have this really interesting story about Transformers. So, um, I was the child of a kid. My father wasn't a complete adult when I was born. So he like still had all his stuff when I was born, and it just got put away into storage. And then when I got old enough, I got all his stuff right away, and it was less than 3 years after it got put into storage. So it was like fresh, brand new toys still, really, for me. So all the Transformer toys that my dad played with just 3 years before I was born, I was playing with 3 years later. So as a little kid, I played with all the Transformers, Megatron's gun, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Wheeljack, Menace. Like I got to play with all of them. But the weird thing is I never watched the cartoon really as a kid. But for some reason, I knew all those characters' names as a kid. And I don't get how that worked. I don't know what was the deal with it. I think that was just like every kid knew, like so they were just in on it or something. But as I got older, like as I grew up out of that, I knew more and more. Like I watched more and more. Like my favorite Transformers series is Beast Wars. Um,
yeah, Beast Wars,
so
man.
I am not shy about it either. I really am a big Beast Wars fan. But I actually have a liking for a specific Transformer type. I'm more a Cheetor and Bumblebee fan over any of the other characters. Like Starscream's cool and Optimus is cool, but Bumblebee and Cheetor were pretty cool. Like they had like those were the dudes that got the nitty gritty job done. You know what I mean? Like so that's why I was
Yep.
like Bumblebee and Cheetor was my dude in Beast Wars because when he turned into a transmetal, he ended up he could like he would start running and then his wings would open up and he would take off like a jet. I was like, oh yeah, Cheetor can fly finally. I was like, that's so cool. So I was super big into Beast Wars, which segued me as a 10, 12 year old, or I was like 10, 11 when Beast Wars came out on regular TV. So uh, during that time, that segued me to into other types of things. But I think the reason why I didn't watch the Transformers cartoons is because my dad also had the comic books. And I think the comic books were better than the cartoons to me.
Gotcha.
That might have just
Yeah,
been a me thing, though. I don't know. Some people might agree with that, though. The comic books sometimes are better.
I think I have some of those digitally. I don't think I know I don't have any of them physical, but I have some. I have a lot of comic books digital, so I probably have some of those.
I have.
Um,
I only have two comic books for Transformers right now. I just haven't. That's something I didn't get back into doing as an adult was comic books. I like
oh,
to.
I definitely did.
I like them. Like I like them. I'm not saying I don't read them. Like I'll download a PDF once in a while and read through the PDF and get caught up on something. I'm sorry, I don't always support the artist with my money, but I still do like them to the point to where like I'll get caught up on all of it. So there's that. I'll watch them, but I don't buy the paper copies and collect them like that. I'm not. Don't have the space in my house for it. I think that's the big issue. That's a big space taker. I have Magic the Gathering cards, okay, and I've got over 20,000 of those. I don't need I don't need comic books too. Magic is the
Don't need more paper in your house.
right. Magic the Gathering is my
More
paper
expensive
card
paper.
addiction. No Pokemon really. My kids have a little bit of Pokemon, but not for me. No Yu-Gi-Oh. I was big into Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. First gen, second gen Yu-Gi-Oh. I was real big. And then third gen came out and they changed all the rules, and I said, "Nah, I'm done." I was done.
I man, so I've got a man cave that hopefully in the next couple months, and ask anybody that knows me. Okay, Pyro Draco's always talking about when he gets to his man cave. I'm really hoping I can finish it off soon, so I can finally finish building. I'm building a custom table that's 3.5 by 3.5 square table that it's a card table, but it's going to also be my build table as well. Um, anyways, the point is, um, I've got I don't know how many card games, board games. I've got Magic, I've got Yu-Gi-Oh, I've got Pokemon, I've got Versus, I've got the old the original Lord of the Rings trading card game. I
Oh
had the
wow.
original. I have the Star Wars trading card game from back from Phantom Menace. Like I, I've got old card games from like the '90s. I've got ones from the early 2000s. I've collected cards all over the place. I mean, that's what got me started on TikTok, even be able to do lives. Is for 6 months I opened a Pokemon card pack every single. I had never collected Pokemon as a kid, but now as an adult I collect it, and it's become part of my core. I haven't opened much lately, but I opened stuff like I had a video posting every single day for 6 months. It took me 6 months to get to my 1,000 followers to be able to start live streaming on TikTok. And then I started selling trading cards through TikTok. I started ripping packs and stuff on TikTok 2 years ago. And um, so now I have a crap ton of extra stuff that I've been trying to go through to send to one of my buddies that I met through TikTok, that his son does a foundation for kids battling cancer and terminal illnesses where they donate cards. So now I'm trying to go through all that. But yeah, I have Pokemon, Magic. I have some Magic stuff. Um, I have Yu-Gi-Oh. I have some collectors Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like some good stuff. Like I have some of the Shonen Jump cards. Like I've got some. I'm not got some like Holy Grail stuff, but I've got some stuff that people are just like, oh, screw you, man, for having it. But I as far as the Pokemon goes, Darkrai is my bread and butter. Like that's my jam right there as far as Pokemon go. There's like I forget how many the count's up to now, but I have all but 3 cards that exist of the Darkrai cards as far as the English set goes. I have some of
Okay.
my stuff in Japanese, which is really cool. One of them is a first print edition. It's actually got the foil stamp for first print, so that's kind of cool. Um,
I
the comic,
collected
yeah,
I collected Pokemon back when I was a kid, and I got into the Japanese and the Korean and the just the other just like any different language I could find of a card that I liked, I would collect all of it. I would just be like, "Yep, gotta have it." But it's only a 25%. Give it to me. I gotta have it. Don't care. I was one of those. But then, like at some point, I don't know what happened to my Magic or my Pokemon collection. They just disappeared.
yeah. I never
I
collected
didn't
Pokemon as
sell
a
them or
kid,
trade them off. They just disappeared one day. I don't know why.
but as far as the comic book part goes, so I up until about 10 years ago, I had a good about 2 years where I actually had a pull list, and I became friends with a guy that ran his own comic book shop, and he made sure I got the best of the best when it came to the comics. Like if he saw something he thought I would like, if he didn't have it on, if if he had extra copies of it, he'd put it in my pull list even if I didn't ask for it, just in case. Like I was collecting Hawkeye at the time. Um, I was collecting Rocket Raccoon. I was collecting Nightcrawler, and I can't remember what else I was collecting. But I have almost between just the regular, just straight up Hawkeye comic books, and then the original run. I think it was 52 issue run of the West Coast Avengers that was ran by Hawkeye. Including that, there's like it's probably up to like 120, 130 something because I haven't collected in like 10 years. But at the time, there was only like 112 issues of Hawkeye comics from the originals to the new stuff, and I had at one point in time, I had almost every single one of them except for the newer stuff. And I say newer stuff as in like 10 years ago. But I still have the original run of the original Hawkeye miniseries. I have all the old stuff. It's just some of the newer stuff I don't have. But like I said, Hawkeye was my first character I got introduced to because he was in the Thunderbolts at one point in time,
Yeah,
and I remember I still have the comic somewhere, but they were facing off against the Beetle, and um, I just thought he was so freaking badass looking because he actually he had his normal bow and arrow on his back, but he also had gauntlet bow and arrows on it both arms,
yeah.
and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, man.
I
And
always thought that was cool too.
so yeah, that's how I got that like I think I got introduced to Batman right about the same time, but Hawkeye just stuck with me. I mean, I love Batman, don't get me wrong, but Hawkeye just stuck with me, man, because it was just like, you know,
Yeah, Batman, I didn't hate Batman. I found myself rooting for the villain sometimes. I don't know why.
yeah,
Like, not like the Penguin or Two Face, but like Captain Cold or Mister Freeze or whatever. I was always about that guy. I was like, yeah, Mister Freeze, get him. Like freeze that bat. I don't
yeah.
know. However, I was gonna say, hey, maybe I could have you look up a comic for me and see if you could find the series. It's gonna be a 1980s series. X-Men and the Micronauts.
Well, okay, so my question is, will this still be allowing me to? Are you talking about right now, or are you talking about after the podcast?
Well, later on after the podcast, so
Okay,
because I would like to see like what kind of like how what that's priced at right now for because
you
they're
said X
getting
Men and the
really
Microbots,
Micronauts, yeah, um,
Micronauts.
Micronauts, yep,
Gotcha.
and they're getting really close to that part in the MCU. So I would really like to get all of those comic books before they go super super high in price
Uh,
because
but
that that's when I read that as a kid. I read issue 1 and issue 2 as a kid. So those were really good issues too, by the way. Like it was um it was good. Like I said, they were like miniature versions of Transformers. Like really small, like you could like Wolverine could hold them in his hand. That's how tiny they were. It was such a weird comic. Anyways, I remember it being a great crossover series and because that's what I believe it is. It's a crossover series between X-Men and the Micronauts, obviously. But I, yeah, man, I remember watching or reading it, but I don't remember exactly the whole synapse of the series. But I'd really like to get issue at least 1 through 5, and if there's any more after 5, I'd love to get those too. That would be super awesome. Because one, I'd sit down and read them with my dad. Because me and him would just get a kick out of reading those together. And two, it'd just be nice to have to, get something that has like a sentimental value as a kid to me and give it off to
yeah,
my kids because they love comic books. They read all sorts of stuff. My daughter's big into Gwen Stacy and all of the Spider Verse, and my son he's into Mega Man and he thinks Spider Man's cool, but he's bigger than Mega Man now. Like he's shifting more into Mega Man, which is great because they just released a whole bunch of Mega Man games on the Switch console from
yep.
retro games. So he's been able to just play it up.
So I'm sure we're coming to a close on this podcast.
Yeah,
Um,
about 13 minutes.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I try to keep it 2 hours max. 1 hour is
Okay.
the shortest of the show, but I don't try to go too far past 2 hours.
Well, you picked a horrible person for this because man, as you can tell, I'm super talkative,
Yeah,
and
no,
I've had my voice has been going in and out for the last 2 weeks, and so it's trying to go out now. Um, But
What?
yeah, so I haven't been able to talk a whole lot to people. So I have one question for you, and I will even answer the question myself. So, what is that one thing that you have that it doesn't have to be just Gumpla or whatnot? What's that one thing that you have that people just are like F you over? Like the one thing where it's just like you have that one thing that not very many, and you may not have that, but you have that. You have like one thing where it's just like not very many people have, or not very many people have seen before outside of you showing it to them. Do you have something like that where it's just like this is like your, I guess your holy grail? Going back to that, is it like your what you have like a holy grail item that's not? It doesn't have to be kits like a kit. It could be anything.
Yeah.
You have like your one thing where it's just like, haha, have this.
Well, I kind of have a few of those types of items in different types of genres of things. So in model building, yes, I have my Holy Grail in hand. I have not built it yet because I decided on TikTok that I was going to put it as a goal for for me to get followers, and I haven't been trying to get followers at all lately. I've just been hanging out and meeting people, but trying to get followers is like something you're supposed to do, right? So I set a goal, and there's a video about it. But and I got to my first goal, which was if I get to 1,000 people, I'll open it up, I'll do an unboxing, and we'll look at all the parts. And we did that. It was my Gundam Ultron P Bandai, Nitaku from Endless Waltz. So I have
But
that. It's in hand. That thing was expensive. It was a big kit. But it is like it's one of those that is the kit. When I start to put that kit together, it is going to be very meticulous. It's going to be me being very slow with this kit and adding details nobody would think to add to this kit. So that is like a holy grail thing for me. Outside of model building, I magically for some reason got my holy grail like my magic cards. Like I got the holy grail of magic cards. And no, it's not a Black Lotus to me. This dinosaur set came out one year, a couple years ago, and I'm a big commander player for Magic the Gathering. And I was looking through the previews and I saw this card, and it was just a monster of a card. And I was like, dude, if I built that deck, that would make me unbeatable. Like nobody, I would be like freaking Yu-Gi-Oh! Like nobody would. So the first pack I went to go rip of that set when it came out and hit the shelves, I found a pack of it. First pack I ever ripped of that set. I got the card I wanted to make a commander deck.
jeez,
And then
that's insane.
I never opened another pack of that set again. I said that's it. That's the only card I needed. But my wife, she also she ripped her pack open and she got some cool cards out of her pack too from that set. But I got a commander, my commander's name is Zakama Primal Calamity. It's a trample, vigilance, haze, trample, vigilance, reach, 9/9, and it has three abilities attached to it and a static ability for when it's casted. So if you casted it, you get to untap all your lands. Then it has three abilities. Each ability is a different color from its color cost. So one is two in a red, one is two in a green, one is two in a white. The red one destroys an enchant, or no, the red one deals 3 damage. The green one destroys an artifact or an enchantment. The white ability makes you gain 3 life. So that commander controls the board. As soon as he hits the board, there's nothing you can really do because I'm playing him at a point in the game where you've wasted all your other spells trying to prevent me from even getting him on the board. To where now he's on the board and he's just gonna happen. And if you try to put something out to bother me, I'm just gonna swat it away like it's a fly with him. That's kind of how I built the deck. And I built the deck to be counterspell resilient. So like I put like 10 cards that say search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. I put like 10 of those in my deck. I put 10 cards that say, like I'm one of those kind of Magic the Gathering players. Okay, I know I can only have one of that name, but there's 20 cards that do that ability. So I'm going to circle in on that ability, right? So
Yep.
because he has a 9 casting cost as a commander, that's really high. But I can get him out turn 4 or 5. So for me, and that's with just land. I'm not using any mana rocks in the deck. I cut mana rocks out, and instead, in place of the mana rocks, I put fetches. So everything that's a fetch, search your library for a land. Everything's a fetch is replacing the mana rock. So as soon as I get a fetch, I can play it and grab my real lands. And then I lace the deck with things like Karamicha's Favor, or Dictator Karamicha's Acolyte, and then I also have Doubling Cube and a couple other cards like that, right? And then draw spells like Hauling Mine and Font of Mythos, and then I also put something in there where like I can manifest cards and turn those cards face up if they're creatures for their casting cost, so I can spit shit out of my deck faster. Like this deck is just monstrous. And surprisingly, with a commander and what I had to do to the deck to build it to get it to run right, I actually didn't spend that much money on the actual basis of the deck. I had a lot of the cards on hand. I did. I'll kind of lie. I did net deck when I built it kind of, but I didn't really. So I went on and saw like how would you build this deck on YouTube, and they were like, "Oh, you would want to run lots of fetches, and you want to run lots of mana dorks, and you want to run." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to run mana dorks, so let's see what else we can do and stuff." So that's kind of the whole thing. And then I was like, "What's the win con in this deck?" Then and there was no answer to that. Nobody was coming up with an answer. So I finally came up with an answer on my own for the deck. It's my commander, Dragon Throne of Tarkir, and Mob Rule. Okay, those 3 cards can win you the game. Plain and simple. The first card, your commander. He's a 9/9 with vigilance, reach, and trample. Then you're gonna have Dragon Throne of Tarkir. You attach it to your commander. Your commander, you can pay 2 and tap your commander, and the Dragon Throne gives all your other creatures your commander's power plus trample. So if my commander's a 9/9 and I have a bunch of creatures, they all become 9/9s with trample. Cool. That's a great win way. Well, how do I really drive that home? Mob Rule. Before I tap my commander, I'm going to use Mob Rule to take control of whatever's more on the board, high power creatures, low powered creatures, because Mob Rule says gain control of all creatures with power 4 or greater, or gain control of all creatures with power 3 or less. So you get that option, right? So you can choose what side of the board you're going to take over. But if you're going to take all your buddy's little 1/1s or whatever that he's building up, and you turn them into 9/9s anyways. So it doesn't matter. Just take all the creatures that you can, turn them all into 9/9s, and then swing out. Your opponents have just lost their armies, and you win. That's my concept of my win for my deck, and it's really hard to beat because, like I said, I'm going to annoy you with everything I'm going to do to try and get my commander out, and you're going to try and stop me from getting my commander out. That you're going to be so distracted with that I'm going to be drawing out my win con and forcing you to draw out your deck really fast, and you're not going to be able to play fast enough to keep up with what my deck is trying to do, and especially because I'll be producing somewhere around 120 mana by turn 6 if I have all the right pieces on the field. I also have like it's a stupid deck. I just showed it to somebody else and they were like, I would just quit. As soon as you started playing, I would just quit. I was like, that's not fun though. I was like, I built the deck to be fun. So it is like a group hug type of deck. So I don't have to be the bad guy all the time when I play the deck, but there is that. But I have like 32 Magic the Gathering decks. So that's my dirty little secret. 32 commander decks, not regular decks, like just commander. We don't play regular in our play group. We play commander and um name a creature that's really popular and we'll probably have a commander card deck built out for it in my play group. Um,
Nice.
my favorite outside of my Zakama is my Bruna deck. Bruna is just evil. When she attacks or blocks, all enchantment auras that are on the battlefield, in graveyards, or my hand can be attached to Bruna. So that's my competition deck is Bruna. If I'm gonna go sit down at a competition, I bring her because I don't know, she's full of enchantment auras, a couple other creatures that help swell her up real good, and then yeah, I just start swinging with her. And people, it becomes annoying because you can't stop me from putting all those spells on her. It's just like whatever. Like the card says I can put them. I'm not casting it, so you can't counterspell it. You can't bounce it fast enough for it to not hit the field and me to use it because it's in the middle of the attack. So it's like put all the things on it, calculate, and I get that. Like that's like you can go from having a 2/2, like a 2/3 creature or whatever she is, to having a 21/24 creature in one swing, and you win the
Ooh.
game against somebody because of commander damage. So there you go. That's my other. I will talk forever and ever about that too. Like I can just keep going on and on. Besides modeling and collecting like my favorite memorabilia from 80s and 90s TV shows and cartoons, yeah, Magic the Gathering is like a pretty unhealthy thing I do.
Um, so mine's going to be mine, and I know we're coming up on that 2 hour mark. Mine's
Yeah.
going to be pretty short and sweet. um, so mine, I don't know if you read just regular books or how much you read regular books, and if you do read regular books outside of comics or mangas. Um, I don't know if you read science fiction, but I'm sure you've heard of a little author named Douglas Adams, correct?
I'm trying to think. The name sounds very familiar.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
To the
Galaxy.
Galaxy. Okay. Yes, I actually had that book on my shelf.
Yes, I have that on my shelf. So that's that's actually not the fu thing. Jesus, man, all the gumpless.
All right. So while you're talking, we'll go through the tour.
So he so Douglas Adams wrote the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That was in I'm kicking myself in the butt because I don't know exactly the date off the top of my head, but um, he wrote that in the 70s,
I might have given
and
it back to my parents.
what is it?
I might have given it back to my mother and father-in-law. It's not up here anymore. But we
Ooh, some
have
Doctor
got some religious stuff. We got Doctor Who. Got Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman's pretty awesome. Got Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, Ink Spell, some more Doctor
Who.
Who.
Did you say
Um,
Neil Gaiman or you mean Neil Gaiman?
Neil Gaiman, however you want to pronounce it.
I was just thrown off. I was reading this like, well, that says Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, yeah, Neil Gaiman. He's
Um,
pretty awesome. His stuff's pretty good. Then yeah, whole bunch of Doctor Who stuff. And then what is this? I think this is like Dragon Spell or something. Thieves World. Oh yeah, this is some old
geez,
stuff. You want to see some fantasy books and stuff?
that's
Thieves
some
World.
old school fantasy.
Or let's see what else. I got Endy Meon or Endy Man. You know about Endy Man. If you're a fantasy book
And
reader, you don't know about Endy Man. You need to go. You need to go read up on some Endy Meon.
I'm only a light fantasy reader. Like,
Oh, let's see. Here we go. There's more over here for fantasy books and stuff mixed in with the DVDs. But then we got, let's see, what is this? Um, my daughter's reading these. Secret of the Dragon by Weiss and Hickman.
Like I like fantasy. But so he wrote his book in the 70s. Well, then in before him, there was Robert Sheckley. I don't know why, but I'm hearing myself through your thing for some reason.
Here you go. Dan Simmons, The Rise of Endymion. This book is epic, buddy.
You have to send me the name of it so I can check it out.
I love it. I think it is an awesome book. I just finished reading it for the third time or something like that. It's good. It is good. And it leads into, there's a bunch. There's like a series or something to it. So here we go. 15 seconds to the end of the show, everybody.
Um,
Here's
so
my little
the oh,
Hubbard of
sorry.
life.
So the one thing for me that I have that is immensely epic for me to even have is there was an author 10 years prior to Douglas Adams called Robert Sheckley. Um, a lot of like hardcore sci-fi fantasy, science fiction fans know who he is. But outside of that, most people don't know who he is. But he wrote a lot of novellas. But he had a book called Dimensions of Miracles, and it was released in 1968. And um, a lot of people that have read both Dimensions of Miracles and Hitchhiker's Guide would almost say that Douglas actually kind of pulled off of Robert's work, but he had no idea about Robert's work until like the early 2000s. Um, I actually found out about it from Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman worked with Audible and actually did a thing called Neil Gaiman Presents, and it was a basically a audiobook series to where he would bring back these really old books that most people don't know about that are really good books, and he would pick a narrator to narrate those books. And um, Dimensions of Miracles by Robert Sheckley was one of them. I happen to be in possession of a first print signed copy, original 1968 first print edition, signed of his Dimensions of Miracle book from 1968.
Sweet. That's cool. I like that.
And anybody that I have met that is a big science fiction person as far as books go, and I tell them that, they are about ready to knock my ass out and come steal it from me. Because they're just like, there's no way. And then I send them pictures and they're like, there's no way. I'm like, yeah, I paid like $15 for it from half price books. But it's because, like, you would think it'd be worth more, especially being from 1968. And I'm sure if I got it somehow authenticated, it would probably be worth. It'd be worth a pretty penny. Possibly, I don't know, but I mean, with how old it is, but it's one of those things. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time. And the fact that I was actually able to track down, and I have a book that's also hard to find called Dimensions of Sheckley, that is a collection of some of his books or novellas, and it's got like 4 or 5 of his novellas, and that hardback is kind of hard to find nowadays. But I have a copy of that too, and it has Dimensions of Miracles in it. So if I ever recommend the book to somebody that I physically know, that lives in close proximity to me, that's what I let them borrow. But nowadays, it's getting right. I don't let them borrow it very much anymore because it's kind of going up in price.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where when I feel like bringing it out, I bring it out occasionally and show it off when somebody hasn't seen it yet, that can actually appreciate it for what it is. Um, Still always baffles me that I have a book from 1968 that is a first edition that is signed by the author. It always
Yep.
baffles me, man. But
No,
anyway,
I feel the same way. I just pulled out I actually have a model kit that's really rare. Oh, it was an A70 Corsair airplane, but it's the year it was made is what makes it rare, or whatever, is the model kit. I pulled it out, and the print on the manual said like 1970 something or something. It was like way back then. I was like, oh wow, for like so. As soon as that plane like came out, and they told us about that plane, they were like making a model of it right away. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, that's so cool. So yeah, that's the oldest thing I got, I think. And that's pretty cool. But hey, we're at the end of the podcast. Pyro Draco, I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us and having such a great time. And
can't
you're
even
such a good
talk, man.
conversationalist, dude. You kept the conversation going. You're so awesome. And I'm going to tell you what, you're going to be invited back on more often. So expect that.
I'm
Hanging out.
totally okay with that, man.
Yeah, and things like if you ever need help troubleshooting, man, just call me before a Friday, and we'll set up troubleshooting on a Friday, and we'll have fun and hang out and do whatever. But I'm gonna get off of here because I gotta go. You have yourself a great night, and everybody else, we'll see you
You too.
on the next.